From Ticker Studios, this is the Founder's Method, presented by Memo Bottle.
What is the biggest bottleneck at the moment for e-commerce businesses and how can you fix it? I'm John O'Burt.
And I'm Jesse Leeworthy.
And this is the Founder's Method. This is the show where we get into the real story behind how founders build, break, and rebuild businesses.
He's built one of the largest e-commerce growth communities in the world, helping over 5,000 brands scale and optimizing more than $1 billion in meta spend along the way. He's a top 20 meta partner globally, an AFR Young Rich Lister, and inside his community, a new brand crosses its first $1 million month every week. And on top of it, he's one of the nicest guys going around. The founder of E-commerce Equation, Jay Wright. Welcome, mate.
Thank you. What an intro.
That was a nice one. I like that last bit. Lots happened. We've known you for a while. A lot's happened in the last 5 or 6 years.
It's been great growing with you guys. You know, I'm really grateful to have you as part of the community.
We actually used to get one-on-ones with you. That was things have changed.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I still get through a fair few, but obviously I can't get to everyone. But yeah, no, the community's grown a lot, and so's my team. So. Yeah. It's been quite the journey.
So what does it look like now? What does E-commerce Equation look like in terms of size and community?
So we've got several different programs. Obviously, as Jesse mentioned, we've worked with 5,000 brands over the last sort of 6 years. And yeah, I think at this current point, like we probably oversee around about 15 to 20% of all e-commerce turnover in Australia and New Zealand across all of our brands. And yeah, oversee $1 billion annually in media spend, so the largest meta partner in Australia. And yeah, so it's definitely, we've got a really amazing data set and community that's sort of all opted in to support each other, which is amazing.
It's a massive data set for sure.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest bottlenecks that you're currently seeing in e-commerce businesses?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm really focused on how do we collectively all move forward together. And I think probably the number one hot button pain point I'm feeling and seeing is creative, like getting enough creative for organic, but also the ad account. There's been big shifts to the algorithm over the last couple of years that have skewed where the performance frontier is from sort of media buying and all the settings in the ad account, more toward the creative that you're putting into the ad account.
Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? You mentioned that shift from media buying to creative. What does that actually look like in practice for brands and how they create?
Yeah, if you go back 2 years ago, like the way that we would target a group of people was that we would select an interest. And this was sort of to accommodate Meta's algorithm. And what's happened with the advent of AI is Meta's been one of the biggest investors and beneficiaries of AI. And the number one way that they're monetizing their AI power is through increased ad performance. Like their CPMs are up, everyone's performance is up as a result of these AI improvements. But probably the biggest shift has been targeting. So they're now able to use AI to look at the creative, see who's in it, the messaging, the avatars that are within the creative, and then show that ad to the people that are most likely to respond to that particular bit of creative. Previously, we would just choose an interest and show it ads, and the interest is first, and that's really shifted to the ad is first from a targeting perspective. And so that's put a lot of demands on more creative, more diverse creative, and more strategy around how you're actually deploying your creative system.
Because you don't really have the option to choose your targeting anymore, do you, within the account? Or you do, but...
You still can. It's getting harder and harder, and the writing's on the wall that they are going to probably deprecate that completely. You still can choose interests, their suggestions, but the actual performance is shifting more to this open targeting and using creative as the way you reach new people.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because it was not long ago. It was about like trying to get as many different content types in the account as possible. Like now, it's like really shifted to persona and angles. Like, what's the real difference between the two?
Yeah, I think when people hear like, all right, more creative or more creative diversity, they immediately think of styles, right? I could do a founder ad or an employee ad or a UGC ad, or I could do talking head or product demo, and they think styles. But really, styles is sort of 1/3 of it. You've also then got personas. So are you targeting like workers or professionals or healthcare workers? And then the angle you're hitting them with. So you're targeting them with like flat bottle is convenient, or you're targeting them with like metal is more hygienic. There's all these different angles that you can hit all those different personas. So for me, it's like, yes, it is the style of ad you need diversity in, but there's also the persona that's in the ad and also the angle that you're trying to hit them with. And it's understanding the combination that's working across those three facets and having good data to support that I think is where the current edge is.
So a lot of brands are coming into you at a pretty low level, doing up to $1 million a year potentially. resources are pretty skim. What's an MVP for that creative machine for smaller brands these days?
Yeah, so look, I think that everyone's pretty much already creating content for their socials, right? So most people are doing something, and I think it isn't about volume. It's not just doing more, which is quite overwhelming. It's actually having informed bets. So I think typically we'd take a top-down approach where we look across our entire set of ad spend and sort of highlight what's working across various brands. But there's also a bottom-up approach where you should be labeling your creative in the ad account so you have visibility on what's working for you. And so rather than just doing like a spray and pray approach, you're more accurate with each bet because there's a cost of each bit of creative, right? There's a cost to create it and there's a cost to test it in the ad account. So it isn't just gratuitous volume, it's really informed bets and looking at what's working across others and then in your account so that you can kind of do less but have more probability that that works.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, there's a lot of metrics that we need to look at in the account. Like, how do you actually know which creative is working and what metrics to listen to?
Yeah, I mean, labeling is key. So we're in this AI world and data analysis has become very easy, right? Previously, we would have to spend an hour or two filtering to figure out what was working. But probably the number one thing that people are missing is accurately labeling their ads. Like most accounts I open, they'll have sort of like ad 4, founder ad. You guys are looking a bit guilty.
We've been there.
Yeah,
for sure.
But like actually looking at the components of that ad and saying, well, what is the persona? What's the angle? What's the style of ad I tried? What was the call to action button, the URL? Looking at all the variables and accurately labeling them, which sounds like a lot of work, but you can actually template this out so it doesn't take more than 30 to 60 seconds per ad once you've got the frameworks in place. And then what that allows you to do is to chuck it into Claude, or use a tool like Motion to then go and actually look at, well, for new audiences, what was the best persona and style for that persona, and actually get clear data. So in an AI world, I think data hygiene on your ads is so important now and in the future. So kind of creating that personalized labeling so you have your own metrics about, bottom up from your own ad account, where should I spend more is kind of probably the big idea.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people, when they hear we need to just pump out more content, it's a volume thing, and they need to work out. They're trying to work out how they can do this volume. There's a lot of platforms out there like Tribe, and that I know that a lot of companies are using at the moment. But you're saying it's more of a working out what is actually working, spending more time in the data and understanding the numbers to where you should be pushing and creating that content.
Yeah, and I think like it's actually taking a pause and going, well, most of us are sort of doing the obvious, and so actually going, well, what are sort of the less obvious audiences and angles that I haven't thought of, right? Yeah. So, for example, you guys might naturally lean into convenience for memo, like it's a flat bottle, it fits in your backpack better, looks cool, and so. But there might be other angles where it might be, well, with the new titanium bottle, maybe there's...
Is this a memo bottle plug? This is great.
Maybe there's like a hygiene, or so if people work in like a medical environment, rather than having like a silicone cover, they might have a preference towards full metal. And so, a lot of it is like actually doing that persona work, and we have a lot of tools that help people go through that to uncover different and new angles that are outside the obvious. And historically, we used to, go to our community and say, hey, this audience is crushing it. Like back in our day, it was like filtered water. Yeah. People who are investing in like water filtration, they love water bottles, and we'd find this awesome audience and just run ads to it.
Yeah.
And now it's more like trying to have that same thoughtful process to angles, but at the creative level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah, it does for sure. So where does creative go from here? Like, what do you think brands are sort of underestimating about the next 12 months?
I think a lot of people are not as data-driven as they need to be. So 18 months ago, we had this big event around Australia. It was like the Performance Creative Summit, and we sort of got everyone's attention on the fact that it has shifted to creative. And now fast forward 18 months, I think we're now really moving into this like data-driven creative machine that everyone needs to create so that they are informed from a bottom-up perspective in their own ad account. And they are constantly trying to figure out, right, what audiences, what personas and angles do we actually need to hit. And then they're uncovering these new pockets of performance, and that's really, I think, only possible if you have a system of constantly uncovering, testing, and having informed data to have a feedback loop of what to do next. So really building that machine is sort of that next frontier, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice.
What are you seeing as working? Back in the day, it was photo shoots and really glamorous aesthetic imagery and videos. It doesn't seem to be that way anymore. It seems that it's going a lot more raw. Like, what are you seeing is working most in the ads account at the moment?
Yeah, there's definitely like a shift to like yapping content,
Yeah.
and like you guys have just been a great example of like founder content and the influence that that can have. So there is definitely a skew towards authenticity, but there's no like dogma. There are brands that are crushing it with like very curated content or stills, So there's still, and I think this is why it's so important to have your own data, because otherwise you're just going on an opinion or so I think like having your own data to actually figure out, well, what is working for me is the number one thing. But in aggregate, definitely like video content, more raw content is currently where the trend is. But historically, it's just stuff that looks different. So everyone went like really polished, and then there's been a pushback to like authenticity. But we're also seeing like some really obvious AI creative working. And so wherever the next frontier is, it's just a matter of like having a view. We obviously do that as a collective. We share what's working across the community, and then having your own data. And so right now, I do think you're right. It's like founder-led content. It's more raw. It's yapping content.
Way, yeah.
But it's not to say that that won't change in 2 or 3 months, and sort of, or that other styles of content wouldn't work for you right now either.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of brands, like in small teams, they think that every new ad needs a new shoot or a new style. How should a lean team be like squeezing more out of the content that they've already shot?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, I think there's a misconception that a new ad is an entirely new bit of footage, but you could actually get a lot more yield out of your creative through editing, right? So when we engage UGC creators, for example, we actually ask them not to edit. We just say, when we brief, we might say, here's 3 different hooks based on these different angles, and here's like how we want you to do the demos based on what we've seen work in the past. And we just ask them to send us all the raw, because otherwise you get one finished asset from a UGC creator, and they're pretty much not going to be a performance ad creative editor. They're going to be an organic editor. And so what that allows us to do is say, take one engagement with a influencer or a UGC creator, and maybe create a batch of 6 to 10 ads from one shoot, right? So the yield goes up. And then once you have all the raws, you then have the option to like mix and match, right? So you might do this creator's hook with this creator's demo, or you might be able to mash up demos. And so an ad is not an individual bit of footage, right? An ad is an edit. And so I think you can definitely get enhanced yield through performance creative strategy and re-editing or recutting existing footage.
Such a good tip.
Yeah.
Jay, you've created an amazing community. Thank you from us for everything you've done for us personally, and the thousands of brands all around Australia and beyond. And thanks for coming on today.
Appreciate it. Thanks guys. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
You're watching Ticker. The Founders Method is presented by Memo Bottle. For more, visit memobottle.com.